Back to another episode of Pushing Back. Welcome back to another episode of Pushing Back Chaos with me, Paul McFadden. I hope you guys are all going well. I hope you're pushing through and looking for some areas, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, where you can apply yourselves and get ahead. We're joined by Mike, who's not in his usual location. He's sitting on a beautiful riverbank. And well, you might not see his face, which is a good thing. You're going to see some beautiful views. How are you, Mike?
Hey, what's up, dude? Yeah, I'm changing the scenery up. So usually I have like the background for the Pushing Back Chaos icon up, which I guess kind of boring. I'm not going to show my face or anything, but here's the wonderful Potomac River in Washington, D.C., and some fountains this morning, having some breakfast and coffee out here. And yeah, mate, it's a nice little morning. Sitting out here just reflecting on stuff. We were chatting it up a little bit before we hit record. And I'm actually up here. I totally forgot about it. I'm not going to lie, but I've been on the road and back and forth. This weekend is the Arlington National Cemetery trip for the charity group I work with, Operation Once a Lifetime. And all the veterans from all the wars are flying in today. So I think there's going to be about 30 or 40 veterans from, I think, Korea, Vietnam, and on the GWAT, of course, and everything else, flying in today to DC. And then tomorrow they'll go to the cemetery, visit some of their fallen. So unfortunately, I can't be there tomorrow. So I'm staying here today to help out where I can and get to talk to them. I love sharing stories, and especially the older generation. But duty calls, so I have to drive home late tonight and get back on that plane and Charlie Mike. So I'm going to enjoy it while I can.
Well, it's super cool you're there, and it's a great view. I had no idea how white the Potomac was at that point. Initially, I thought that was the beach, when you first came on.
It is what you think it is, and then you got some little waterfalls back here, like back behind me, along the rocks. So it's a nice little environment, dude.
And we're joined by a Dash 3. The third wingman, Tio, is still off delivering people safely home from travel and taking people on vacations and, doing what he has to do there. He's taking care of business. But we've got a replacement, much better looking, slightly more aggressive member of the team who's joining us. How are you going there, number 3?
So aggressive. I'm so chill. I am so opposite of aggressive, very chill, and actually really enjoying seeing Mike's view there, which looks really cool. Enjoy that. A shame it's only one day, but I'm sure, you'll relax after the week you've had.
Yeah, it's definitely a day of recovery and enjoyment. So I kind of had a hard landing, I'll say, and messed up my knee about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So I got a knee brace on. I don't know if you can see a little knee brace there, but it's getting better and good recuperation, and physical therapists have been great. And, I'm very thankful for those people to help me get back to being healthy and go in the direction I need to be going. So, but yeah, today, R&R, relaxation, and get to enjoy some good people.
Yeah, it's super cool. I'm sure the listeners can imagine exactly what you would have been doing that would cause the need for a knee brace. I know I've worn one many, many times after rugby over the years. You got to do what you got to do. And I know that there may have been even a little birdie was telling me, Mike, perhaps a bit of activity even occurring after the knee was perhaps a bit damaged. You weren't quite sure whether it was right to go, but you pushed on anyway. Wouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah, there comes a point. There's being smart and being hard. I definitely try to balance the two. Like, it's good to be smart so you don't re-injure yourself permanently or something more drastic. I really like the saying, your best ability is availability. And that's very true when it comes to a team environment, especially when, the goal is combat, but the result could be injury or death. you definitely have to be available in order to help your guys. So I took a knee, literally, and did an honest evaluation, and I want to make sure that I had the facts right and what was going on. And then once they said nothing was torn, I was like, okay, well, I can get back out there and keep going. I just need to adjust how I do a couple things, and I finished out the next week and really had no issues, so it worked out. But yeah, again, just really grateful for the medical people, physical therapists, the dedication. You know, it really is a team effort in these types of environments that I think it's lost in translation. Even in sports and everything else, everybody looks at the athletes, everybody looks at like the big important people, and it's just like, dude, I couldn't be who I am or what I do without all the people who support and work for us, and you know, every piece. So I'm grateful for them.
Yeah, very true. And it might also be true that you know, the rules are for the blind obedience of the new people, and for the slightly older people, more experienced, you know, they're the guidance of wise men. Blind obedience of fools and guidance of wise men. You obviously, it's not your first time doing any of this stuff, so you, with that experience, you know when you need a bit of help and when you're going to be right to go, and you're going to probably know your own body and the limits versus what you're trying to do better maybe than a doctor or a rule book. So I know you were pushing on a bit sort of in the grey area of, well, you could have been laid up for a long time, or you maybe could have been a super hard nut and tried to go straight away, and I think you balanced it well. Doing some pretty aggressive stuff still.
Yeah, or it could just be that I'm just totally stupid. Either one.
And so we thought we'd get together this week, a bit more of a lighthearted one. Chezza and I, it's our weekend where we are, and I know you've been able to get down there and blow off some steam with some old friends. Shout out to Kenny G and Pat. I believe there was some winning hands perhaps to be had last night with a late night out. Is that, God. Is that rumor true?
It is very true. There's never a surprising moment when I'm with either one of them. So I legit think Pat has some kind of like gambling problem. Like, as soon as he gets money in his hand, he has to jump table to table like a rabbit. And then I don't think I said it any less than like 7 times last night, but everybody listened to Kenny G's story from, I think, Not Your Average Operator when we interviewed him. You know, Kenny was wounded. He was shot 3 times in Iraq, and I'm 100% convinced now that they were magic bullets that hit him, because last night I rarely see him lose at anything, whether it's raffle tickets, gambling, whatever the gamble is. He comes out on the winning side, and he won $4,600 last night playing blackjack, Texas Hold'em, and he's from Texas, so he's like master at it. He's telling the dealer how to do it, and then the game of war, he was legit winning at war. I think he won like $800 or $900 just playing war, and I'm just sitting back, just wow. I just don't know. They're just magic bullets. I'm convinced.
Yeah, hilarious. Cherie, have you got a? I know the answer to this, obviously, because we live together. We're in split rooms, so we don't ruin the audio. Have you got a little guest there with you?
I do. This is why I was saying I'm very chill, because I have this little chihuahua that we're pet sitting for 2 weeks, and she's sort of just decided to hang out with me out here.
Can you show her?
She's just she's just sniffing around the trees and bushes at the moment. So, but actually, I have 3 dogs here at the moment, so I'm loving life. Living my best life with dogs. We actually have pet sitting 2 at the moment, and so we have, along with our own 2, a total of 4, which is quite funny. Very cute.
And they're all big, beastly. Yep, look at that. Just ferocious animals, just patrolling the grounds.
Super cute. Oh. protecting me as well.
Hilarious. So we thought we'd have a bit of after, a few heavier topics talking about, mental health through the mental health week of June and some conversations after that. We thought it was time to just chill out a little bit. Cherie and I on our weekend, we're both just having a quiet drink. Mike had one or maybe two drinks last night with his mates when he caught up on a very early night, visited the major cathedrals and art galleries, and was in bed by 7 because he's a clean living guy. But we thought we'd just have like a chill, fun chat about things that make us happy, things we're looking forward to, things that we love from our past, a bit of throwback, perhaps some chat. So maybe we can start there about just things that make you happy, stuff that is in your life that you derive pleasure from. And I might go first. For me, it's pretty funny whenever we go on vacation, as soon as I come home, walk in the door, it's like immediately I'm at peak happiness. I hit my 100%. And it's just because I know that I'm with the family. I've got the kids both there. We're now 16 and 14. Cherie's there. All of us are together. And I know that we're going to have just time together. Just that pure, simple. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. You're just together. And you're going to get up in the morning. You're going to do your thing. We don't hustle on our vacations. We like to chill. We like a lot of time just to potter around or sit and have a coffee. We don't rush around and do a lot of stuff. But for me, really, it's just a key thing. And the older I get, the more I value it. And it's just time with my immediate family, time with my kids, time with Cherie. And it is funny because now the kids are 16 and 14. You can sort of see that there's a point coming where these little people who are now young adults are going to be adults. And Cherie and I are both very aware of that. And there's a study that shows when the kids move out, that is the date at which you've spent 85% of your time that you'll ever spend with them. And, we've known that. And it's a good centering thought to carry in your head for those times when, you might be having just the normal rough times of families or frustrations or whatever it is. You can just put it all in perspective and just know that there's going to be a time when you're looking back on this with a lot of fondness. And if you could, much later down the track, you'd give a lot to have one more day with them when they're all together. So for me, it's the simplest thing in the world, and it's just time with Cherie, Annie, and Michael, and I just absolutely love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. How about you, Mike? Have you got something you can share with everyone that makes you happy?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question, man, because being honest, like the last couple of weeks have been really hard, being on the road so much, and it kind of goes back and forth. Like sometimes I shift from like being in the present to going in the past, and then straight to the future, and then back to the present. Like I'm jumping around, and again, being completely transparent, I think it's just lack of discipline, lack of control with that I've kind of been struggling with. So it's like, I know for me personally, like all these trips that I'm doing, like I'm pretty much booked up until November. So from April until November, like my schedule is just work. And I have very little free time. Like days like today are like a godsend, so just the fact that I'm sitting here and I'm in a chair, I'm not moving. I had a good breakfast and coffee, and it's quiet, it's peaceful. There's some water in front of me. Like, it's just really nice, man. Like just little things like this is such a welcome. So honestly, there's not a lot of crazy big things that I'm like super excited about near future. It's just little things like this that I can take time and just kind of breathe and relax. And it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It doesn't have to be like huge big things. But I mean, again, I'm grateful that I'm here with Pat and Kenny, and we had a fun time last night, and all these veterans are flying in today, and I get to sit and talk with these old timers. And I talked about learning a life lesson 2 years ago when I was here from the guy William. 93-year-old Korean War veteran, and he like literally changed my life. And I wasn't even planning on it. I didn't build it up to this big thing. It just kind of happened naturally, and it was so nice. So maybe that'll happen again today. I'm really hoping. So I guess no,
Can you
I know I
remind
am.
us, Mike, of that story?
Sure. So it's no secret. A couple years ago, I was going through a lot, and I came up here on this trip, and I met this guy William. He's 93-year-old Marine veteran from Korea, and he was there visiting his buddy Bill, who was buried at Arlington, and he shared his story with me. And I never met this guy in my life, mind you. And we walked around Arlington all day. Went to the Vietnam Wall, the Korean War veteran memorial, like everything in DC, at the National Mall. And I literally shared my entire life with this guy, and he did the same. So we talked about life, love, combat, losing teammates, frustrations, hopes, dreams, like literally everything. And like I just felt like I knew this guy for like 30 years by the end of the day, like just one day. And then the next morning on Sunday, he came down and he's like, "Please don't leave yet. I need to talk to you." And I said, "Okay." So he comes down and he's like, I was praying about it all night because I just want you to know I've never talked to somebody like I talked to you yesterday in my entire life about what we talked about." And I was like, wow, that's pretty special, man. Like, I don't know why it was me or whatever. And he's like, "I don't know either, but I just wanted to share this with you." And he just said, "God must really love you." And I kind of looked at him and I was just like, well, what does that mean? Because I've heard that 100 million times and different ways. And how do you want me to take it? And I felt kind of backwards because I shared a lot of pain that I was going through, my personal life in particular. And he just looked at me and says, "Dude, God must really love you because he's given you all the hard stuff at the beginning of your life so that the rest of your life will be that much better." And I seriously almost cried. Like we were in the lobby in the hotel, the place I'm at now, and I just kind of like you feel the weight in your chest, you feel the emotions, and then behind your eyes just wall up like a dam. And I just wanted to like cry, and I gave him the biggest hug, and I just felt like such a connection to him. And literally, I never knew this guy. We had 60 years difference in life. I was 33 at the time. He was 93, and we're both combat veterans, and we just felt like this connection. And I wasn't expecting that, and I walked away just completely changed for my whole life. So, like I said, maybe today that'll happen again.
It's such a fascinating thing, Mike. That's an amazing thing to get feedback from someone 60 years down the road ahead of you. And it's such an authentic connection to be able to share the experience with a combat veteran to combat veteran across the generations. Like we're all the same. I was listening to a study the other day on human happiness, and it was a big multi-country, all different cultures, tens of thousands of people involved in this study, and they were assessing human happiness and fulfillment across the board about how people rate their own lives. And they had three groups, and it was broadly people who'd had a pretty good life, that never really had major suffering, that had their life had flowed and that had a lot of success. Then there was a middle group that had sort of a mixed road. And then there was a third group that had a pretty tough life. And unsurprisingly, the people who had the tough life rated their life as the lowest in terms of happiness. But it was the middle group was people the people who had the sort of the good life, as you look at it, they weren't the highest level in terms of assessing how happy they were and so on. It was the people who'd had a major challenge that they had overcome and they'd been able to move forward in their life were the ones who then rated their life the highest in terms of like satisfaction and overall fulfillment. I think there's really something in that where you're talking about that statement from the old veteran that God must really love you because he gave you so many challenges and hard times at the start of your life so that then the rest of your life can be really beautiful. I think that he has captured something as an insight, a person with a lot of experience at the end of their, in their winter years. with a lot of experience behind them. That's reflected in this study, that it's not just people on a upward trajectory their whole life that are having a great life. Like, I wouldn't swap with those people. I know that Cherie and I have worked through a lot of really hard times together with major health challenges and all the rest of it. And it's on the other side of those things, there's a lot of enjoyment and happiness and satisfaction and fulfillment. And I think that there might be something parallel from just this guy's insight as a person with a huge amount of life experience in this study. Do you think there might be anything to that, Mike, that having had some challenges and difficult times early in your life, that maybe when the good times come, maybe you savor them or you're grateful for them in a different way that maybe will enhance the meaning?
Absolutely. And, last episode, I shared that list of things that I've been through and the lessons that came from them ultimately. And you have to view those as a positive. If you choose to learn the lesson, that is, we always have a choice to go, something happens, we can make it for us, or we can let it break us. Am I speaking to the point of like, I've let it be for us every time? No, I've let so many things break me and gone down the hole and become somebody I didn't want to be because of, I was upset, I was angry, I let it take over me. And honestly, I blatantly, I still struggle with it. I mean,
Yeah.
I had counseling yesterday morning. I'm still going, and I'm still trying to figure out a pathway forward and how to deal with certain things. But I don't want it to define me. I don't want it to be my anchor in my life, or, hey, why'd you have a shit day today? Well, because of this. Every time. It's like, I don't want to be that guy. I know who I want to be and where I want to go. And I really like ingest the little things that make me happy. Like I said, sitting here right now, looking at this fountain and listening to the water, or the Potomac, or I'm in the shade and the birds flying around, just like little tiny things, man. Just, it's so nice in a world of chaos and the stuff that I do for work and how intense it is.
Yeah.
And it's just all the time. It's always intense. It's so nice just to sit back and just like be at peace, So
Hey, I've got a question, Mike. So this conversation that the two of you had, were you sitting somewhere and everything kind of just came out within, one conversation? Were you guys like going somewhere or doing something? How? Because I find it interesting that he's a 96-year-old is saying that he's not been able to say the things that he said to you to anybody else. It's a long life to live and not share some things like that. It's, to me, it says a lot about, I guess, like the generational ways in which we share or don't share, and that these conversations that now in this day and age, like, we've got to make it okay to share it.
Yeah, he was definitely from the Stoic era. I think that era of people, they didn't talk about feelings. They didn't talk about all that. They were very stoic within their approach to problems or different things. Maybe different people didn't say I love you as much as they should have, or express themselves, which is kind of, it was just that generation. And it was probably because of World War II and Korea and like what the world was asked to do. But honestly, thinking back on it, I saw him on the bus. So in the morning from the hotel, there's a bus that comes and that shuttles us to Arlington. And I got on the bus and he was just sitting by himself at the time. And I just talked over, I said, I was like, "This seat's taken," and he just kind of giggled. And I was like, "You mind if I sit by you, sir?" And I sat down. He had no idea who I was. And I just talked to him. I introduced myself, and he's like, "Are you in the military?" I said, "Yeah, I'm still active duty." "And how about you?" And I was in Korea. I was a Marine and visited my buddy Bill here, and it was just a genuine introduction. And then I followed him around, and I said, "Hey, I'd like to tag along with you today if you don't mind." And I'll share some stories of my friends that are here, and I'd love to hear about Bill and how you knew him. And that was his best mate, best friend. And
Oh man, yeah.
we talked about everything. I mean, just from like before the war, during the war, after the war, stories with family, how they stayed in contact with family and friends and growing up, and when they had kids, and how important he was
Wow.
when his kids got married, and just literally everything. It just flowed because there was
Wow.
this connection there. But
Yeah.
uh it just kind of happened. And then I think definitely the most important part is when we got to the cemetery and we got to Bill's stone, just to see a grown man, 93 years old, choke up, and the way he spoke about his best friend.
Mm.
You can't fake that. And
Mm.
he got teared up, and it was hard for him, but there was also a lot of smiles going on. And then the stories started flowing about, man, this one time we were doing this, and we were wild and young, and we did this, that, whatever, what I would give to go back and have that day again with Bill, or having this experience with him, and this, that, whatever. And it was just so important to pay attention to for myself, because this guy was replaying his life pretty much in front of me, and all these good, happy emotions were coming out of like a natural thing, which is death. And Bill or William was still able to like walk away happy. Like, he was so grateful. He's like, man, I actually had a best friend like that. Can you believe that? I actually had a best friend as good as Bill. And man, I'm so lucky. And it was like a happy moment. It was really cool to
Amazing.
experience and see and feel. So
And it's such a great
Such an
attitude to kind of remember, like, that you can be happy and you can be okay, and you can still honor the person that you was your best friend.
yes, yeah, and sometimes that's easier said than done, I think. Um,
For sure.
I think people come into your life, I think I'm not entirely sure. This is something I'm going through, but I think people come into your life and they really have an impact on you, and you can call them your best friend at some point, and then for whatever reason they end up leaving. For whatever reason, it could be a million different reasons, and you missed your best friend. You really, they were there for you. They helped you grow. They did all kind of stuff, and it was like, man, you were supposed to be in my life my whole life as my best friend. And now that they're gone, all you have is like memories and old feelings and experiences, and you wish that there was like more sometimes, but maybe you're not able to have them. And instead of like being so focused and being negative on being like, well, I don't have that anymore, I still don't have it. It's taking a step back
Right.
and going, wow, like William taught me is, man, you were lucky enough just to have that type of person in your life. Because some people never will,
I love that. I love that saying about people will come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And it's sort of saying that everyone that comes into your life, it's not always going to be that forever friendship. It's a reason that you may have needed them in that moment. They might have needed you, and then they're gone. A season might be that a chapter in your life where you have someone in life that's just in that chapter. It's not a lifelong friendship, and that all of these friendships are great regardless.
It's such
Yeah.
a beautiful thing for William to have shared with you, an insight from someone who's, no doubt, if he was in the Korean War, he also lost many, many close friends. For him to say, it's such a beautiful observation how lucky you are to have had those men as friends. Like, it really is a beautiful thing. And there's obviously the sadness and the loss of not having them, but it's such a blessing. I know Mike and you and I talk a lot about our fathers both passing, and there's like the flip side of being really sad that they're gone is that they were such amazing men, so much to learn from them. And so, like, I think about my dad all the time. I just during the week, I just said to Cherie how much my dad would have loved her. She's such a good mother and all of those sorts of things. And I think that's really how you can really honor them is having that awareness of how happy they'd be for you, or how would they feel about these challenges or these good times that you're going through, or what sort of advice would they give you? Like, I think about it all the time, like, well, how would my dad handle these family pressures, or what would he say in my situation as a father? What would he say to the kids? Or, you sort of got like do you know what I mean? You've got like I don't even know the word I'm trying to dig up here, but you've got like a framework of this person as you understood them, and they can be with you still. And you can sort of go to them and ask them for advice, or think about what would they do in these situations.
It's like the guidance they would give you.
Yeah, that's right. How happy would they be?
They would give you based on your understanding of their values and their principles and how they lived when they were here.
Like maybe last night, Mike, you're at the casino with great mates, and how happy some of your other mates who weren't there, how happy they'd be to know that you were there having a great time. And it can be poignant, and it can be happy, and that sort of mixed way. Because I know that if I wasn't here, I'd want everyone who I love. I'd love to know that they're having a wonderful life. I'd love to know that they're having good peak experiences and enjoying their time.
That's a really nice thing to do. It reminds me of Mr. Rogers, who's a Pittsburgh native, by the way. And I know
we loved that film, by the way. We loved that film when you recommended it. Yeah.
It's so nice. I mean, he was such a good human being. I think the world needs a Mr. Rogers still more than ever. But he gave a speech. I think he got a Lifetime Achievement Award, and rightfully so. He said in his speech, I want you to this whole crowd of millionaires and all these people that have, actors and whatever else. He said, I want you all to take 10 seconds and think about your life and the success and how, and the things that you have and that you're happy. And he's like, I want you to take 10 seconds to think about the person that meant the most to you, whether they're here on earth or they're in heaven. Think about them. And he's like, I'll watch the time, and literally watches his watch for 10 seconds. And this entire place is dead silent. And they pan across the room, and some people just start smiling. Some people tear up and they're crying or whatever. And he goes, how special those people must have felt knowing that you thought of them in that moment.
Wow.
Really think about that. That was such a beautiful thing to think about, whether it's your parents, Mel and your dad, or my dad, or whoever, about what you're doing in your life, the way you're living it, how you treat people, going about being a good person. Those people are smiling down and very, just very happy, very proud to see who you are. And I think if that doesn't fix up your day to feel a little bit better and be a little bit more happy, even if you're having a hard time, I know I'm very proud of the people I know around me, that when I know they're having a hard time like I am, they're out there trying their best, and they're not giving up, and they're giving their best. They're still smiling. They're still taking a second to pause and be like, yeah, but it could be worse, or at least I have this, or, and it will pass, and they recognize it. And that just makes me very proud of them, to see those type of people in my life that are, they're not going to quit. They're not going to give up. So
such great feedback. Such good. Go on, Cherie.
That actually is a scene that's part of the film. If anyone has not watched it yet, it's a really moving film. And at the end, they show the actual Mr. Rogers, not the Tom Hanks playing his character, but and I believe, Chris, I believe, Mike, it's a Golden Globe or an Academy Award night. And he's actually been given an award. And the people that are in the audience are, as you say, they're actors and they're really influential people. And he, just the way that he asked them to stop and take that 10 seconds, and you can imagine the producers of the show probably thinking, get this guy up, you know. But that he had such an amazing presence and had a way of getting people to really think about the special people in their life and to think about the positive things. And you said this earlier about trying to always see the positive side of things. And I agree with you. I think everyone needs a Mr. Rogers. And if it's not someone that, you know, just yourself, that if you can look at any situation that comes up that's challenging and say, what's the positive aspect to this? I think when I do it for myself, it just gets me out of whatever hole that I'm in, like immediately, to just think, what's the positive out of this that I can take?
And sometimes you can't find it. Sometimes you can't find it on your own, and you need other people to help you
For sure.
along the way. You know, like Will was to me.
For sure.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I was gonna say, what are the things that make you happy, Cherie?
So, yeah, similar to what you were saying, you know, I'm really loving this time. It's, even though it's summer here and the weather is literally, during the hottest part of the day, is probably 48, 49, 50 Celsius. What's that in Fahrenheit?
Really hot.
120.
Right.
Heading towards Death Valley. Not quite Death Valley, but heading that way.
Yeah, exactly. And so summer here can be pretty challenging because there's not really a lot that you can do. It might as well be snowing out. But what I love about this time of the year is that both of my kids have finished school. They're on school break, and a lot of the pressure is off, just to be in a strict schedule and timeline of the day for the day. And to have Michael home and not at school. And then when Paul comes home and he's here for, you know, 3 or 4 days over the weekend, it really is just the four of us. And to me, that every time that this time comes up every year, I think this is really special because it's not something that's going to occur every year. And so, you know, Michael and I watched a film. Michael's watching the top 50 movies or something. And so he and I just, you know, sat in bed and watched a film the other night, and both freaking out over different parts of this movie. And I just really love that time. It's 2 hours, and, you know, he was sitting in the same bed watching TV and watching something together and just doing the same thing, not talking much, but yeah, just being together. It was really nice with my teenage boy, you know.
What film were you watching?
Whiplash. It's about a student, a drummer. He's learning how to be at this school. He can already play drums, but he's learning how to be better and to be under the tutelage of this awful teacher. So it's a great film. I think it's won some awards, and yeah, it was just a really nice thing to do together.
I think it's so important to sit here and like share these examples. And, you know, I don't know who's all listening, if it's younger people like teenagers or maybe middle of the road or older, but I know the mid to older range of listeners are probably like, yeah, I can totally relate to Cherie's story about spending time with her kids and enjoying those moments. But what would I say to the younger generation of like teenagers, maybe you're in your 20s and you're listening to all this? It's like, really take a second and listen about what's being said, because I think the perception is that there needs to be these one-liners. There needs to be like just these quick mantras of your daily life that you go about, and it makes everything better. And in a way, I think it's a good jumpstart when you hear a quick message like some of these other when you hear some of these other podcasts or stories, and it's like very big and flashy and it captures your attention really quick. But I think that's only going to get you so far. And I think you need to take the time to dive into these situations like we do and really dig into the reasons why things are bad, why things should be happy, why you should be grateful, why you should be all these different things. Because like anything built fast does not last. I really like that. When you really study and take your time and understand the why and how and construct something, it's just always more solid and grounded. And getting into discussions like this is definitely going to help you in your life, within your friendships, within your family, at work, doing whatever, and truly understanding everything. And it just kind of popped in my head because it's like, man, what am I listening to Millen and Cherie talk about? Oh, they're spending time with their teenage kids. Well, maybe you're the teenager, right? And you need to understand like what's important to your parents and how important it is, because one day you're not going to have your parents, and vice versa. Things are going to evolve and change, and you need to be grateful for these things that you're experiencing now and allow yourself to experience it.
There's a lot of what we've just been talking about, the three of us. It's so interesting how like we sort of converge on some very simple moments. We're not talking about, being on a plane flying somewhere or having spent big bucks on a ticket to a concert, or we're talking about really simple moments like what Mike is doing right this moment, sitting in the shade with birds and kids and water and anticipating spending time with friends later on today. And Cherie talking about sitting in bed just watching a movie with her son, or me talking about, and it's funny, it's like I go away now and work, half a week away and come home and have 3 days at home with the family, and coming in the door to the house, and typically I'm pretty spoiled. I'm greeted by some beautiful food. The house smells amazing. And normally Annie's playing music as I come in the house, and it's a pretty amazing homecoming. These are simple pleasures. And I think what Mike is talking about, if you're to spend time with some older people, they're the ones who are listening to this and nodding like, yeah, this is all super obvious. When you get more experience, it's these little things these are the moments that you live for. Like there's not something better than this. And certainly in the modern age, we've all got a device in our pocket, being our mobile phone, which is sending all the social media and the constant stream and chasing stuff, and all the psychologists building the algorithm to have us chasing serotonin and dopamine that these devices can provide. That it can be, you get this feeling that seeing people on social media posting all these amazing photos and all this sort of stuff, that the happiness is out there and you'll get it at some point. And it's not those things that you value. There's research that's been done with people in palliative care, so people who are end of life, cancer or old age. And I've listened to some interviews with people who work in palliative care, counsellors, and they've got those consolidated lists of feedback from people at the end of their life. What were the keys to a happy life, or what were the biggest things that the lessons that they were able to derive from these people at this time? And it's all about the relationships. It's about their family connections, their deep friendships. It's living in the present moment. It's about gratitude and appreciation. It's about letting go of regrets. They're really simple lessons, and they're in all of the books of wisdom that have been passed down to us. The different religious groups out there all value these things. This is like every culture on earth passes these are like the tenets on how to live well. And there's a lot to be said in it. And it's like Mike was saying, like slowing down, just taking the foot off the accelerator, taking a knee, and looking for these little things in your day. Calling your mum and telling her you love her, and being in the conversation. But there's a lot of stuff that we can all do. These very simple that is going to add a lot of meaning and happiness to the day. It doesn't have to be something big and flashy. I like that thing, Mike, you just said, anything built fast does not last. And it's these enduring relationships give satisfaction and happiness and meaning and fulfillment because they're such like bedrock. You know, it's been a long, slow build, and it's something that's super sturdy. You know, it's made of strong concrete. It's got good foundations.
Yeah. It's really like this topic today. I know it's kind of towards the end of the thing, but I just want to say, while it's fresh in my mind, is like 2 challenges that I got for everybody just listening to this section. One is if you're listening, I want you to take a piece of paper and I want you to write down, really think about it. Take 5 good minutes and really think about 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 people who you're truly grateful for, whether they're here or not. And yeah, I'm taking this from Mr. Rogers because this is probably what he wanted, and his legacy is for us to think this way, why he did the things he did, and really think about how they affected you in such a good way. Like, maybe I wouldn't be who I am without this person, or I'm so grateful that this person was in my life. And you know what? If they are still around, write them I prefer you call them. Calling someone and getting a call and say something really nice. Watch the reaction that you get. You never forget that we're all going through something, that we're always struggling, and we're always asking ourselves, am I doing it right? And am I being a good parent? Am I being a good friend, aunt, uncle? It could be anything. You're going to make their day if you call them and say, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm just very grateful for you in my life, and you've helped me through so much, and all this stuff. And enjoy that moment, because you just added another block to the pillar of a great friendship, of a great relationship, whatever it is, and really enjoy that side of it. So I would challenge you to go and do that now. Hit pause, or you can do it at the end of the episode. But I know that's something I'm going to do here shortly. And I'll say it on here. I'm grateful for you both, Melon and Cherie, for being there in my life the last 3 years and helping me become the man I am, and the mentors that you've been, and big brother and big sister to me. I don't think I would be the man I am, or have the depth of the depth of understanding that I have about myself now without you guys. So
yeah, it's been great to have you as a friend.
Thank you, and likewise.
Mike.
It's nice to have a brother.
Tell Tio that, because sometimes I don't think he appreciates it.
Hey, Mike, I've got a question. You said, think of these people, these 1 to 3 people who really have impacted you in a positive way, that you're really grateful for having been in your life. And if they're still around, reach out and get into communication with them 100%, have a conversation. And, it's probably the kind of conversation you want pen and paper there to take notes, or record it somehow, because that is going to be something very special for people. What should people do if they are thinking of people who perhaps have passed away, Mike? People who are not here with them anymore. They've got this feeling of love and gratitude, and they're so thankful that they had time with this person, but they've passed. Is there something that they can do that might still be something that's helpful or beneficial as part of your challenge there?
Oh yeah, that's a great question there, Melon. And that's an easy one. Share it. Share that feeling, share those thoughts, share those stories with somebody else. That's the beauty of when people aren't here anymore, is your memories. Raph said it, nobody remembers you for what you had, it's how you made them feel. And I guarantee you, if, like my grandmother, that passed 2.5 years ago already. The last conversation I had with her was the most beautiful one I've ever had in my life. And the greatest things in life are not things, right? That lesson she passed on to me. Do you know how many times I've passed that on to other people? And then I usually finish the conversation with, that's my grandmother. That's passing her on, that's passing the lesson on. And I can't help but feel happy when I do share that, because I see other people smile. And yes, I shared it, but ultimately it was from my grandmother, and that makes me love her even more. That makes me miss her. You know what I mean? And it's just a good thing all around. It's a wonderful circle to share. So that's what I would say is, don't hold that in. Share it with somebody else, because they probably need it, and that's probably what that person that's passed on would want you to do.
Oh, 100%. Imagine yourself in your own life.
Mike,
You've shared something special with someone. And then, sorry, I'll just quickly finish. You shared something with someone, and then you heard later that they were sharing that story with other people that was having an impact, and that was being passed out like the ripples in the pond. That feeling of how happy they would be after they've passed, that story is still having an impact. That is such a beautiful suggestion there, Mike, just to share the stories, pass the gift on.
It is.
Sorry, Cherie, go ahead.
Mike, so your grandmother had the little plaque on her wall, like a little sign, and you have that in your apartment. So whenever I see that phrase, the best things in life are not things, I actually think of your grandmother, and I've never met her. So to me, that represents your relationship with her, who she was, and who she was for you, and that she gave you that message to use in your life. And when I see that now as a meme or posted anywhere, it's funny. I think of that, and I don't actually think of the phrase itself and what it means. I think of the two of you. It's really that's really interesting.
Well, that's one of the best compliments I think you can give, Cherie. And in a way, when we're all talking here right now, there's people that are on our mind that have passed, that were wonderful, great people. And in a way, even though I don't hear you saying their names right now, I'm getting to know them through both of you, because they've influenced you in so many good ways, me in so many good ways, and we're passing on good things, whether we realize it or not, or we should be at least, or focusing on trying to pass on good things. Because one day, I'm going to be in my grandmother's spot, and hopefully my grandchildren are going to be saying, wow, my grandfather was a good man, and he was very down and in, and he believed in this, and everything that I've done in my life, hopefully they're proud of, and they can walk away one day and be like, yeah, that was my grandfather, or that was my dad, and I couldn't be more proud. And then they're going to pass it on to their kids, and so on and so forth. And like, what a beautiful thing. Really, what a beautiful thing for your legacy, but also just life and the pursuit of making better everything, better relationships, better communication, better memories, better feelings, all of it. It's really an amazing gift.
Yeah, well said.
I really feel like that is a really beautiful place to maybe wind this one up. We've been talking about things that make you happy. There's been comments here from myself about time with Cherie, Michael and Annie in the home. Mike sitting there on the banks of the Potomac, just sharing his happiness, just being in the moment. They're having coffee and time to pause and sit and reflect. And he shared the story about feedback from William, who was a Korean War veteran, about how he said to Mike that God must really love Mike because he's been given the challenges and hardships right at the front, and there's a beautiful life that's going to come later. I just want to point out there that Mike created that opportunity to have that connection with William by putting himself out there for a conversation, and that there's a lot of conversations that might go missed, these beautiful moments of connection and sharing with people, that if you're just willing to ask, hey, can I come and sit next to you on the bus? You never know what's on the other side of that. Cherie shared the beauty of school summer holidays, having the kids in the house. And there was a moment of her talking about having a 14-year-old boy in the bed with her watching like a movie that's regularly reviewed as one of the top 50 movies of all time, and having that connection with him there. Mike talked about anything built fast does not last. and that there's the meaningful relationships, the ones that you invest in, are going to be a slow burn, and they're going to get the ones that are strong, and they're going to be a foundation for you. And he put down the challenge of writing down the 3 people you're grateful for having had in your life. How did they affect you in a positive way? If they're around, call them and cherish that conversation of sharing with them how much they've impacted your life. And if they've passed on, then share their stories and pass that gift on. Remembering that the best things in life are not things. From Mike's grandma. So we're at the end of the episode here, and we're really grateful for you guys always stopping by and spending your time with us, your very precious time. Before we wind up there, Cherie, is there anything that you were thinking about sharing that hasn't come out yet? And any final thoughts you wanted to leave the listeners with?
No, I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I've learned a lot just in talking with the 2 of you, which I always enjoy, but it's unusual for me to obviously be on the podcast. But I appreciate you asking me, and I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you for jumping on at short notice, having just done spin in your spin class. You wouldn't know from looking at you that you were all sweaty about 10 minutes before we started. How about you, Micah? There? Yeah, she's all over it. Mike, are there thoughts that you've had around the topic of happiness that you just wanted to share, or anything more that you wanted to leave the listeners with before we close?
I already put my challenge out to everybody, man, and I think it's a really good one. Honestly, I'm sitting here thinking about who I want to call and text, and just let them know that, And I already let you guys know. I'll definitely let Pat and Kenny know when I shut down here and go in and meet them in the hotel, and a couple other people in my life. It's definitely more than 3, and I want to make sure they all know it. But no, I think it's just good. Just take all this on board, and no matter what time of the day you're listening to this, maybe you're on day shift, maybe you're on night shift, really think about everything that's going on in your life, and I guarantee you there's positives in what's going on, and what's moving in your life is for the better. Remember that life is working for you, not against you, if you choose to. And I think if you can look at things that way, I think you'll find a lot more happiness. You won't destroy or eliminate sadness or hard times. It's just not realistic. So acknowledge that. But I definitely think it's a way of moving about your life and moving with life fluently to put yourself in a much better place than probably a lot of society or your peers are. They're comfortable staying there, but I encourage you not to be comfortable staying there. There's so much more out there for you to do and experience in your life. So go do it.
Well, thanks for that, mate. I want you to know, just as we're closing here, that you're one of the people that I'm very grateful for having in my life. You've had an amazing impact on my whole family, Cherie, myself, Michael and Annie. We all really look up to you, and I'm super grateful for the lengths you go to provide the security that the rest of us enjoy, and where my family life and my family can flourish in the safety of people like you and the men that you lead. And I know it's not easy what you do, and I really appreciate you for what you do and who you are, and your the stand that you are in the world for all of us to live the way we do. And lastly, I'm grateful for the listeners. We appreciate you guys more than you can say. And if these kinds of conversations are impactful and are helpful for you, please share them. And, we never are taking anything in a monetary form for any of this. There's nothing in this for us other than the desire to try and make an impact and contribute. So leave a review